the triple option, which features my friend, Coach Urban Meyer, who joins us now, along with Mark Ingram II and Rob Stone. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Oh, so good to be with you, Hugh. I miss hanging with you.
Well, congratulations on triple option. I thought you had enough on your hands every weekend doing the big Fox sports show before the big game, but when do you actually tape triple option?
Well, Thursdays I go to Big Noon, and then Sunday I do Big Ten Network, and then now Tuesday we added triple option. Sinclair Broadcasting came to me, and I'll be honest, Hugh, I didn't know much about. Like you, I just didn't know much about it, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. And I got to pick my hosts, guys I love to death, partners Mark Ingram and Rob Stone, and we love it. We got the number one on the podcast already in 2 weeks, so we love doing it.
Well, let me compliment all of them. It's a great balance. I like Mark Ingram bringing things down to the level of the dumb fan like me. When he asked the commissioner of the NFL to explain the kickoff rule, I was so happy. So kudos to Mark Ingram, kudos to Rob, but to you as well. Coach, before I get into the specifics of NIL, I got to tell you, I was having dinner last night, fetching Mrs. Hewitt's on the road, and she's on grandchild duty, like you are, because Nate, as you said, had congratulations on your newest grandchild to you and Shelly. But they were feeding me last night, and they told me about Jeremy Foley and Chip Howard. Mark and Kim, JJ, and Brian were telling me about this. Have you always gotten to pick your athletic directors, or did you inherit those guys at Florida?
I inherited all of them from Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, and Ohio State, and I've had great relationships with Jeremy and Chip. They're still great friends. You know, I had Gene Smith at Ohio State. So no, you don't get to pick them; they pick me, and I have to this date a great relationship with those guys. I love them.
I just think you've been very lucky in who you got to work with, because when the front office is not working well, and some college club just hired a general manager, the first one ever, because of NIL. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about. You talk with Commissioner Goodell about this. There are a million young kids playing high school football, less playing college athletics, maybe more total, but less playing college football. And now they have to deal with money. Are they prepared, Urban Meyer, to do that?
No, they're not, and I was shocked. And that's something we started at Ohio State when I found out how ill prepared these young people are getting to college. So we called it Real Life Wednesdays, and we started number one every year was fiscal responsibility. And let me say this, Hugh, that I think NIL in its purest form is an absolute. It should have been that way for many, many years. I believe in capitalism. I believe that any human being that lives in this incredible country can profit off the name. However, some of the things going on currently are not NIL. They're pay for play, which I'm not a fan of. I don't believe in that at all. So NIL in its purest form is great, but to answer your question, I and I think most of them are. You have to prepare these guys for what's. I mean, I used to have NFL players come in every year and put a paycheck right on the table so that the whole team could see it. I had one player ask me who FICA was. Why do we keep paying that guy? And obviously, but no,
That's actually
something that
that's a
people.
common question among people who get their first check. Who's FICA?
I'm still asking.
Coach, I was asked by the Republican Senatorial Conference more than 2 years ago to go in and be their breakfast speaker. We ended up, much to the dismay of the non-college football fans, an hour and a half on NIL with the Republican senators. One of them said, "What do we do about this?" I said, "I hope nothing. Ohio State has a competitive edge." But I was joking. I really don't know what the Congress should do, if anything. Do you think there needs to be transparency about how much money these kids are making and how? Or is it best left in the darkness where it is right now?
No, of course it's not left in the darkness. And you know, I grew up in the Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler era, where premium was always placed on education and life after sport. I also had two daughters play college volleyball, and I was lucky that my son played college football. So I loved the collegiate experience. My daughter, one of our greatest family moments is when she said in an interview as she went to Georgia Tech, she said she learned so much more on a volleyball court than she ever learned in a classroom. And I agree with that. I think what you learn as a member of a team, you can't teach that in a classroom. How to solve problems. You know, the world makes you think that race and gender and all this other stuff on a team, that doesn't matter. On a team, and she said this best, is that no, everybody's trying to do one thing, and that's win that game. So I'm a huge fan of that. Congress concerns me. They got their own problems. However, in 5 years, Hugh, I'm not sure people are going to recognize exactly what college sports are. It's fluid right now, and it's alarming. But I'll tell you this: it's never been better as far as a product on the field. So think about there's a good and a bad right now. There needs to be some guardrails to protect these players because I'm concerned that people are making decisions for $15,000-$20,000 because the numbers you hear aren't exactly true. The agents blow them up, they inflate the market. When you're 30 years old, you better have that degree and you better have network system to go get your job.
Well, you said in this edition of the Triple Option that some people are talking about making it a minor league and doing away with class, and you objected to that strongly on the Triple Option, as would I. I'm hoping that rigor arrives in the locker room in the sort of way you ran your programs at the Ohio State University, Florida, Utah, Bowling Green, so that these young men get an education in how to bank the money, because there is a life after football, and I've seen a lot of NFL players who simply do not have any money after 5 years. The posse and the agents take it all.
Yeah, it's shocking, and that's why we did it. You'd think that that would be a priority in high school, teaching fiscal responsibility, and even college. And Hugh, it's not. And that's why we did it at Ohio State. I started it at Florida, but really did it at Ohio State, and it was a tremendous success. I had many players thank us for what we did as far as the real life Wednesdays that we put together. As far as teaching players how to interview, we bought them a suit, bought them an iPad, and taught them how to go get a job when you're done playing. I believe in this, and I remember Woody Hayes. How do you solve all problems, Hugh? Education and employment. If you have a job and you're educated, I get that there's a small percentage of players that will never have to work again if they take care of their finances. That's a very small percentage. Most people are going to have to go work for 20, 30, maybe 40 years and handle themselves.
Yeah, NIL could give a lot of young people a start in life that if they put it into a 401 Roth and leave it alone, they'll be fine when they hit my age. But if they spend it and they buy cars and bling, it's not going to work very well. Coach, I also want to talk to you about injuries. You talked to the commissioner about this. By the way, you can tell Mark Ingram, the commish does not hate the Saints. He hates the Cleveland Browns. We'll come back to that. But he just hates the Browns. I don't know why, but he does. You talked about injuries. Do you think that the million kids playing high school are being coached the right way, high school football, being coached the right way to avoid those injuries now?
Well, the positive news, Hugh, is that the game of football on the grassroots level, whether it be Pop Warner, whether it be junior high and high school, was on a steady decline. Now it's leveled off and it's starting to rise again. I think the game has never been safer. I know the rules that have been put in place have made some fans very irritated. It's all for the good. I'm a huge fan of the rules that people put in. And the new kickoff rule, I coached kickoff for 30 years in college, and it actually got me near the end of my career where we would see people running down the field at 20-some miles an hour, hit something coming at them going, 16, 17 miles an hour. That's the most dangerous play in sport. And so the NFL is, and Commissioner Goodell said they're still working on it and they're going to have to adapt it a little bit. But I think that's the right play. They have to adapt. So the game's never been safer. Everybody gets pissed off about the targeting rule. It's a great rule. It saved the game.
I was angry originally with the call on Newsom on Sunday on roughing the passer, but it turns out he did rough the passer, and you can't hit the quarterback's head; he's unprotected. So I kind of am resigned to that. Let me tell you about the commish and the Browns and get your reaction to this. Young men make mistakes, often very bad mistakes. You know that, and I know that. The NFL has to discipline them, but they take forever to do it. And part of due process is getting to the answer in a hurry, and these young men's lives are frozen. Now, sometimes there's redemption. Kareem Hunt got redemption. Josh Gordon didn't. Mike Hall is in the middle of this process right now because he apparently did a very bad thing. What about speeding up discipline and probation, Coach? Because it just seems to me the NCAA and the NFL are slow as tortoises in meting out just punishment.
I think they're so concerned about getting litigated. I can't speak to the NFL as much, but I can for college. Not every, but the majority of every cases that the NCAA rules on, they get litigated and they usually lose. And so I think they're horrified of making sure they cover. And the NCAA, and once again, I'm not speaking to the NFL, I'm speaking to the NCAA, they don't have subpoena power. So yes, in my mind, I would do it like they did. I believe it was Des Bryant that when he was at Oklahoma State. I hope that's who it was, but he was untruthful to the NCAA, and they said you can never play again. I think that's what they should. You want to expedite everything? Have a rule that says if you're untruthful, you're as a coach or player, you're done. You can never play college sports or coach college sports again. That would expedite everything because then you get asked a question, you better answer it correctly, or you can never play again. So if I was judged,
that is the death penalty for lying. I kind of like that. I'll have to think about that because 18 U.S.C. 1001 was abused against a lot of people in the Trump administration. So that's a federal felony, but NC2A isn't a federal organization. Coach, one last question. Coaches are getting younger and younger. I mean, younger and younger and younger in every level. Is that a good thing? Do you think?
I actually talked to Coach Saban off the record about this. I think it was about 2 years ago, and we just had chats about how the game's evolving. I think it's certainly a young man's game right now. The way the game is set up and the way the transfer, players can, we kind of ran it like Navy SEAL training. I wanted to stress the team to the point where they thought about hanging it up. I wanted the elite of elite to be part of teams. I'm not sure you can do that really much anymore. Where, if it gets uncomfortable, sometimes players leave. So it is a younger man's game. Once again, I'm not complaining because I think the game is great. Fan support is awesome. We're going to Colorado at UCF this week, and the crowd's going to be fantastic.
Oh, the game show. I love watching the crowd behind you, even when the Ann Arbor people gave you a hard time. Coach Urban Meyer, brand new podcast, The Triple Option with Mark Ingram II, Rob Stone, is a great addition to your podcasting menu. Thank you, Coach. Press on. I'll be right back, America. Stay tuned. I'm Hugh Hewitt.